What's the cruelest punishment you received as a kid? My parents let my older brother decide if I was sick enough to miss school. I was lying on the bathroom floor with blood soaking through my jeans when my older brother Evan knocked on the door and told me I had 15 minutes to get dressed for school, or he'd drag me there himself. The cramps had woken me at 4 a.m. So severe I'd vomited twice already, and now I was passing clots the size of my fist. I was 14 years old and this was my 5th period ever, but something was very wrong. I managed to call out that I needed mom, that something was happening, that I was bleeding too much. Evan's voice came back cold and dismissive. You always say that. I'm not falling for the period excuse again. You have 13 minutes now. I heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway, and I pressed my forehead against the cold tile, trying not to pass out from the pain radiating through my abdomen. The rule had been in place since I was 11. 3 years of my older brother having final say over whether my symptoms were real enough to warrant missing school. It started after I had mono during his junior year homecoming week, when he'd been nominated for homecoming king. I'd been genuinely sick, diagnosed by our family doctor with Epstein-Barr virus, so exhausted I could barely lift my head. But Evan had convinced our parents I was exaggerating to steal attention from his big week. He'd just gotten early acceptance to MIT, and my parents treated everything he said like gospel. He was the golden child, the genius, the one with the 4.0 GPA and perfect SAT scores. I was the average younger sister who occasionally got B's and didn't have any particularly impressive talents. So when Evan started complaining that I was faking illnesses to get out of school and make everything about me, my parents listened. After the mono incident, my father sat me down at the kitchen table and explained the new household rule. Your brother has excellent judgment and superior critical thinking skills. From now on, if you claim you're too sick for school, Evan will assess whether you're genuinely ill or just trying to avoid responsibilities. We trust his evaluation. My mother nodded her agreement, adding that this would teach me not to be manipulative about my health. I tried to argue that the doctor had confirmed the mono, that I hadn't been faking, but they dismissed it. Evan had already told them I'd probably looked up symptoms online and convinced myself I was sick, that I was a hypochondriac seeking attention. At 11 years old, I learned that my own parents valued my brother's opinion of my health more than my actual lived experience of my body. The pattern started small. A stomach bug that Evan declared was just me wanting to skip a math test. So I went to school and vomited in the hallway outside my 2nd period classroom. A sprained ankle from soccer practice that he said was minor. So I limped through 3 days before the school nurse insisted my parents take me for an x-ray that showed a hairline fracture. A fever of 101 that Evan claimed I'd faked by holding the thermometer near a light bulb, though I hadn't. And I ended up with strep throat that took 3 rounds of antibiotics to clear because we'd waited 5 days for treatment. Each time my parents backed Evan's assessments. Each time I learned that arguing was pointless. My brother had decided my pain threshold, my symptom interpretation, my bodily autonomy, and our parents had handed him that power without question. Now, at 14, bleeding on the bathroom floor with cramps that felt like my organs were being shredded, I knew Evan wouldn't believe me. Period pain wasn't real to him, just something girls used as an excuse. He'd said so explicitly last month when I'd asked to stay home during my 4th period. He'd examined me from across the room, decided I looked fine, and sent me to school where I'd bled through my pants during English class and had to tie my sweatshirt around my waist in humiliation. When I'd come home crying, he'd told our parents I was being dramatic about normal biological functions, and they'd agreed that I needed to toughen up. So I knew before I even tried that this morning would be the same, but the amount of blood was terrifying me, and I needed help regardless of what Evan thought. I managed to stand, clutching the sink for balance, and wrapped a towel around my waist over my soaked jeans. I stumbled out of the bathroom and down the hall to my parents' bedroom. Dad was already gone for his morning shift at the hospital where he worked as an anesthesiologist, which meant only mom was home. She was sitting at her vanity putting on makeup, dressed for her job as a real estate agent. When she saw me in the mirror, her expression shifted from neutral to annoyed. Sweetie, you should be getting ready for school. What are you doing out here? I tried to explain about the blood, about the pain, about something being wrong, but she cut me off. Have you talked to Evan? I said I had, that he'd dismissed it, and she stood up smoothing her skirt. Well, if Evan says you're fine, then you're fine. He's pre-med at MIT. He understands medical symptoms better than you do. I wanted to scream that Evan was 18 years old and a college freshman, not a doctor, that taking introductory biology didn't qualify him to diagnose anything. But I'd learned that arguing with mom about Evan's authority only made things worse. She walked past me toward the stairs, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Get dressed, you're going to be late. I stood there in the hallway with blood running down my legs, soaking through the towel, and I made a decision that changed everything. Full story is linked below or on my channel.